neighborhood. He was good to his neighbors. He was always looking out for his neighbors. And that's something that, he didn't expect any praise for anything like that. He just did it because that's the kind of person he was. He was also very funny. I don't know how many of you got in on his humor, but it was pretty sarcastic most of the time, and that's just what I liked. I really enjoyed it, and we had lots of laughs. We laughed all the time. I have a funny story to tell, and then I will pass it on to somebody else. I was wondering whether I should tell this story because it's going to embarrass somebody to death who's sitting in this room. But I'm going to do it anyway. When you're a parent with a bunch of kids, it's really hard to find some time to be romantic. You know what I mean? It seems that every time we get the idea, one of our kids would interrupt us somehow, would knock on the door, or would cry, or would just need something. So he'd look at me and I'd look at him, okay, whatever. And then, one day, Wayne and I were in our bedroom, and I happened to look over to the side, and here is one of my sons, I won't name him, smiling like a... And he looked up at me like 3 years old and said, "Shall I get on top now?" It even happened occasionally, when you get older, you're not jumping around each other that much, but even one time, we were thinking, just getting it into our heads and sort of walking toward another room, and we got in the other room, knocked on the front door. It was one of our adult kids. They were always there. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over. Anybody would like to say something? I'll bring it to you. Somebody wants to say something?
Well, I want to repeat the same thing that he said and the other people have said here tonight, that my dad was an extremely kind man. It didn't matter who my friends were, my kids, just anybody that he came in contact with him, he was just very kind to all of them. That's why I invited some of my friends out today that had golfed with him, and they always have great memories of golf with my dad. Dad had great wisdom too. If you're good enough, you'll play. I would always ask Dad when I was younger, because I was a huge Celtics fan, and if there's the Celtics playing the Lakers, I would say, "Hey Dad, why don't you give me an opinion? Who do you think's going to win?" The team with the most points. Recently I played before Dad's disease took him away from the golf course too. You guys see all these trees out here on Papago? Well, I guarantee you my dad peed on at least 80% of those trees. That's why they're so beautiful.
Most of those trees are gone.
Well, yeah. So also playing golf with my brother Dodd, my dad. He always has some funny things to say with my brother Dodd. Dodd would rip a drive like 280 yards down the middle, and Dad always said, "Well, look who's hitting it like a big boy." He also, I remember I loved playing golf with Dad, but I didn't have his skill level, unfortunately. He taught us the etiquette of the game, really to be ready to hit the ball, and Dodd and I live by that. To this day, we play quickly, we know the etiquette, and we owe that all to Dad. But I had some really rough rounds, and my dad was on me one day for some reason, and not in a bad way, but he was with two of his other friends, and maybe he was just showing off a little bit on my expense. But then he said, I hit a really terrible shot, maybe went 50 yards, and he said, "Well, at least you're moving forward." And I was almost in tears that day. So I went up to my dad and I said, "You know what, Dad? I'm really having a rough game today and you're not making it any better. That is the last time he ever said anything negative or, you know, something that I would take negative in the golf game. So, but anyway, I'm going to miss my dad a lot. I still think, you know, he was so fine physically until the disease took him, and, you know, I'm going to miss not playing with him and not being around him. Love you, Dad.
My grandpa was super cool. He's the only grandpa I ever knew, and I'm glad that if I could only have one grandpa in the world, it was him. He's really nice to us, and whenever we would get in trouble with grandma, he would stick up for us. He was really sweet and funny, and he wouldn't talk a lot, but I do remember him chuckling a lot. He thought that my brother and my sisters and I were really funny for some reason, probably because we were beating each other up half the time. But I will miss my grandpa, and I'll miss his bird watching and his crazy stories about getting struck by lightning or whatever it was. And he made me proud to be at McDonald's, so I'll miss him.
I'm Artis. I'm Wayne's granddaughter. Wayne's granddaughter. And obviously my relationship with him was a little different. I always knew he was quiet, and he was the lighter side of my grandparents. He didn't really do much or say much, but I was just telling someone this story. It makes sense that he liked to rescue strays and stray children. I was a little broken, sensitive child, and I think he always sensed that in me, so he was really sensitive towards me. And there was one time, I was a little fat kid, and there was one time when I had a bowl of cereal and I wanted another one, and my grandma said no, and she left the room, and my grandpa came in and he poured me another bowl of cereal. And he said, "Don't tell your grandma." I just want to share that.
It's Eric, and I met Wayne September 1961. I was new to America, starting in the college. Wayne was just starting his last year. We were both on the track team, and our rooms were next to each other in Best Day dorm over here. So most evenings he'd be tapping on the door, and you know Wayne liked to talk. And so he'd come in and talk about everything, but he kind of took me under his wing. I was new to America. I didn't know what to do over here. Didn't know anything about college. New to the track team. And so, where did we go from here? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Wayne, I've lost my train of thought. He started to talk, and he asked me, "Do you play golf? Do you know anything about golf?" And I'd never played golf. I knew you had to hit the ball. He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, maybe you ought to play sometime." He said, "Margot's dad's always looking for someone to play with. Come on over. I'm going to this weekend." So, there you go. Your dad. Away we go playing golf. And this went on for, I don't know, maybe a month or so. And I'm thinking to myself, here, what a country. I'm playing on one of the pristine courses in the whole town, the state, probably the world almost, Scottsdale golf courses. These are pretty fabulous. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I just said, well, I got closer. And that became the buzzword. Okay, hey, you got closer, It's all right. So anyway, and then 1962, right before you guys got married, several of us roomed together. Wayne was one of it, I was one, friend Joe was one. I remember at that time, it was right before they were getting married, and Wayne just spent the whole summer doing push-ups because he was going in the Marines. And he said, hey, the Marines, they do push-ups, and if I want to get in the Marines, I've got to be able to. So he spent that was it. So then, anyway, time moved on, and I met Wayne, and we got married, and then we knew Wayne and Margot, the two of us, and somehow we discovered that we liked to play bridge. And so those of you who know how to play bridge will enjoy this. That Wayne right away said, well, we shouldn't have spouses playing together. Let's split up. So I think I played with Margot, Wayne partnered with Raina. And so we started the bidding, and Raina may say, well, one club. and I probably pass. They're waiting to say 6 clubs. So those of you who know how to play bridge can then figure how that all came out. I think Margot and I won most of the games. So anyway, the time moved on, and we all went separate career paths. And then a little bit later, I moved back to Phoenix, and one of my buddies lived next door to Wayne and Margot, and they used to run along the canal bank every day. So suddenly I found Wayne had turned into a runner. I didn't know that. So then we were down at Casa Grande to that Francisco Giants golf course down there with a 10K going on, and the start of the race was all mungled up. But suddenly I'm running behind Wayne and halfway through the race, and what the heck is this javelin thrower doing in front of me? Running along here. So anyway, time moved on, and then we rediscovered one another about 2 years ago at a kind of a little reunion for Arizona State track athletes. And so we found Wayne and Margot there, and we sat at a table and probably talked for 2 hours almost, just getting caught up and what we've been doing with ourselves and all that kind of stuff. And then Margot then in turn invited us down with them to have lunch at Neil's place. And we had a very enjoyable lunch there. Yeah, that was the last time I saw Wayne. So it was kind of a sad thing, but lots of memories, as you can see, and lots of reminiscences and lots of good times with Wayne. All the best, Margot.
And you were in the movie.
That's right, I was in their wedding, yeah. What about the most important thing? They kindly invited me to be a flower boy or something, but I don't know what it was.
You were an usher.
I was an usher, yeah. This way, please.
Anybody else? You can talk up the boy who you know, huh? Yeah. He was everything. So, I think it's time for us to eat, because they've got all the food out. So I'm not going to say who has to get up and go what table. We just get up and fight each other.
Into the family and met Wayne really, I think, in 1970. And 3 things about Wayne that I really appreciate. I was thinking about his character qualities, and Wayne was a really kind person, and we've already heard, you know, he was helpful. And I just remember how many times we used to move when we were younger, and Wayne was always there to help us. He was a helper. And so I really appreciate Wayne's kindness. He was also very generous within the family, and I can't tell you the number of plants that I had in my garden, and I still have these Cape honeysuckles that I think you guys had just moved, and you wanted to get rid of those, and so Wayne and I dug those out and brought them over. I had the whole back wall full of Cape honeysuckles. Most of them are gone, but I still have a corner where those Cape honeysuckle that Wayne gave me are still there. Great memorial to my brother-in-law. And then I think Wayne was really patient with me. And we would play a lot of games in the family, and I was really, 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 really bad at those games. And Wayne was the most patient of everybody in the family, including my wife. So he just was. And then I don't play golf, but I do have a golf story. One of the first times that I went golfing with Wayne and with Lauren, my father-in-law, we went to a beautiful course in Carefree called Desert Forest. And it's really, I mean, it's a very exclusive club and it's hard to get in. I don't know how Lauren got the entry, but we went there and it was a beautiful course. And I read up on it this afternoon, and it said they didn't do any bulldozing to build that course. They just let it follow the lay of the land. And so there are no fairway traps, sand traps, because you don't need them. There are no out-of-bound markers. And that was a good thing because I was always out there beyond where the markers would have been. And I got a nickname in the family. I was the one who killed rattlesnakes. Because I was Desert Forest, I was the rattlesnake killer. But that was my great golfing outing with my brother-in-law, Wayne. Listen.
My name is John Eckerman, and I played golf with Wayne for a long time, with Jim and Richard Salinas and other people that we used to take trips and go golfing. But we played with him a lot out here. And Neil, I have to shoot a hole in some of this nicety stuff. And he was always very mellow out on the golf course most of the time. We went along for about 2 or 3 years. Finally, one day he was playing bad, struggling, and on the 17th hole, I got to see the javelin form. That club went at least 100 yards, and nobody said a word, and it was beautiful.
I have to, what he said. We were playing out, which is now Grand Canyon University Court, used to be called Maryvale. And one day, Jim was playing, I was playing, maybe John and Wayne. And Wayne was really good. His irons were great. He could hit irons distances and straight. And he hit a shot that, what happened? Did it go over the fence? Under the fence?
I don't remember, but he threw the club.
Well, yeah, he was really upset. Oh, he was really upset because he thought he hit a poor shot. It was on a par 3, and he was right in front of the green. So it was a pretty good shot. He was upset, and he, like javelin, he just ripped that thing, and the club actually went over the fence, out into near a street. The best part of it is him. There were 2 young ladies walking by, maybe 14, 15 years old. And we wanted to get the club back for Wayne. Jim said to these 2 young girls, "Hey girls, how would you like to make $5?" And they kept on walking. When we got into the clubhouse, somebody had returned the club to the clubhouse, and Wayne got his club back. But it's a story we still tell to this day. Wayne throwing that club and going over the fence.
That's the only time he had a temper tantrum, when he was playing golf. He was, otherwise he didn't have one. So, at least it wasn't at me. All right, anybody else?
My name is Barb Slaughter, and I work for State Farm. And gosh, I was thinking about the years. This is 35 years ago, so it's such a long time ago. But I was brand new, and Wayne sort of took me under his shoulder. Didn't know anything about insurance or claims or whatever. It was a really rough time for us, and we were bombarded. But he was always so patient, told me the same thing over and over again. But he was just such a kind person, and I found it so interesting reading the obituary because there are so many things I didn't know about him. And we used to go to lunch probably 2 or 3 years, almost every day. And he talked about his family, about how much he loved his kids. And when you were going off to NAU, Libby, and I feel like I know bits and pieces about all of you, but he loved sharing that. But, about himself, he just did not. And one thing I could say about Wayne is the kind of guy he was. He, as we all know, none of us really loved working for State Farm, but he showed up every day. He was that kind of guy. And I can't remember when he took a sick day. I started thinking about it, and that type of quality in a guy is just unbelievable these days. And I think he did it for his family. He loved you guys more than life. So just wanted to say.
Who have been in the area that long might remember the Firehouse Restaurant in Tempe. And so one time, I think you were possibly moving out of your parents' house or something like that. We went over to your parents' house, and this is kind of echoes what Libby was talking about. And I'm looking at this record collection. I said, Dad, you look at your records. We got to grab some of your records. He goes, oh no, those are my dad's. And I was like, what? This is Metallica. Why would I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And so that's really how I got to meet the family. Then I realized that parents can be cool. And not that my parents were bad by any means, but they sure as heck were around buying Metallica albums. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And so I've seen that just always been consistent with the family all the way through. And it's kind of helped me know that's how I deal with my nieces and nephews, is I don't want to be the the old codger, I want to be cool, and so I've always tried to keep up with things, and that's kind of how it all started for the McDonald family.
I'm George Dehaney, and I taught with Margot at Mountain View High School and did a lot of work around their house once in a while. Whenever they called me and said, "Well, we started this, but we can't finish it." So anyway, I do believe that I went on the first European trip with you. Yes, indeed. And we got to Paris, and we had to go back early one morning to the car. In Paris, you get a hotel, and then your parking is somewhere else. So we had to walk up. We were walking up this hill, and as we were walking, I said, "Now, Wayne, keep looking down, because if you see a stream of water coming at you, it isn't water." Because the Parisians are well known for all the wine that they drink. And we hadn't gotten more than about 10 feet, and I said, "Wayne, stop and step back." He says, "What?" I said, "What did I just tell you?" He says, "Oh, the water?" He looked down, and there was this big, huge stream coming down toward him directly. I said, "What do you better do? Jump back 3 feet." He says, "Thank you." And we walked up, he stepped over that stream, and we walked up to the next corner, and here's this guy just zipping up his zipper. So, yeah, Wayne learned something on that.
Hi, my name's Larry Greenberg. I met Wayne probably 1988. We moved here in 1987 from Minneapolis. And on a Saturday morning, because that's when we all had to play, because everybody worked back then, they had an opening, and I ended up playing with Wayne that day. And from there on, we played together for 30 years, and we played, oh my goodness, probably 6-8 times a month for all those years. And we kind of had a routine wherever the McDonald's lived, and I was up in Scottsdale, so I always had to come this way. And other than playing here at Papago, which was pretty close to Wayne, we would always carpool together. And I was going to say we had a lot of great conversations. However, as they say now, Wayne conversated, Larry listened. And that's what happened for all those years. But he did have a great sense of humor. And if I asked him a question, I'd never get a yes or a no answer. It usually was always something else that came in, and by the time he was done, I don't remember what the question was. But looking up there, I noticed Wayne in shorts. Now, when I first met Wayne, he wore shorts a little bit. We were both in our 40s, and so we were still wearing shorts. And but then, after about a year or two, maybe, it's great to see it up there because I'd never seen it again down here. Wayne never had on a pair of shorts. That was it. But I'll always miss him.
Thank you.